2 hours into the smooth cruise at 35,000 feet, Rachel's hyper-trained senses caught the anomaly first. A faint change in engine pitch. A tiny irregularity in the airframe vibration that no one else noticed. Something was dying inside Engine 2. Minutes later, Captain David Morrison's calm voice came over the speakers. Minor technical issue with one engine. We're descending as precaution. Rachel's jaw tightened. She knew better. This was no minor glitch. In the cockpit, hell erupted. The number 2 GE-90 engine suffered a catastrophic uncontained failure. Superheated turbine blades tore through the nacelle at supersonic speeds, ripping into the right wing like shrapnel from a bomb. Hydraulics exploded. Fuel lines ruptured. Electrical fires ignited. The massive Boeing 777 shuddered violently, yawed hard right, and began bleeding systems at an alarming rate. First Officer Jennifer Park fought through cascading warnings until thick, toxic smoke overwhelmed her. She slumped unconscious in her seat. Captain Morrison was now alone, muscles straining as he battled the controls of a jet that was tearing itself apart midair. Mayday! Mayday! Transatlantic 892. Uncontained engine failure. Multiple system casualties. Diverting to Las Vegas. In the cabin, oxygen masks dropped. The aircraft shook like it was caught in a thunderstorm. Acrid smoke drifted through the rows. Passengers prayed, cried, or clutched phones with shaking hands. Rachel unbuckled, moved swiftly forward through the chaos, and locked eyes with Senior Flight Attendant Margaret Chen. I'm a military test pilot. Let me help or we're all dead. She entered the cockpit to a nightmare of blaring alarms and flashing red lights. Morrison was drenched in sweat, arms burning from forcing the sluggish controls. Rachel dropped into the observer seat and took command of the situation with ice-cold clarity. This is no longer a Boeing 777, she said firmly. Forget every airline manual. We're flying an experimental wreck that shouldn't be in the air. Work with the damage, don't fight it. She immediately began issuing precise orders. Reduce engine 1 to 70%. Use the asymmetric thrust to help steer instead of fighting it. Morrison felt the jet respond slightly better. Rachel then had him switch to manual trim tabs for pitch and deliberately push the nose higher into regimes commercial pilots are trained to avoid. Using advanced post-stall maneuvering techniques she had perfected in classified testing, Rachel kept the dying airliner in a controlled, high angle of attack glide. The wings were technically stalled, yet she expertly managed the separated airflow to retain just enough control authority. The jet descended in a delicate, terrifying balance on the razor's edge of complete loss of control. 50 miles northeast, 2 F-22 Raptors flew in strict radio silence during a classified stealth penetration exercise. Major Sarah, Viper, Chen and Captain Mike, Razor, Williams tracked the emergency on their sensors. They instantly recognized the impossible maneuvers. Razor, that's not civilian flying, Viper said on their encrypted channel. Those are Edwards' test pilot techniques. After a tense internal debate, national security versus 200 civilian lives, Viper made the call. She broke strict radio silence. Transatlantic 892, this is Viper Flight, 2 F-22 Raptors. We've been monitoring. Those are advanced test pilot maneuvers. Qualifications of the pilot currently flying. Rachel grabbed the mic. Viper Flight, this is Commander Rachel Torres, callsign Phoenix, USAF Test Pilot School. A stunned pause. Then Viper's voice returned, filled with deep respect. Phoenix, ma'am, we've studied your high alpha and damage tolerance reports at weapons school. Your work saved lives. We're breaking our exercise to support you. The Raptors immediately used their superior systems to clear airspace, coordinate with ATC, and position every rescue asset. They provided real-time tracking and became invisible guardian angels for the crippled airliner. For the next grueling hour, Rachel flew the impossible. Sweat poured down her face as she guided Morrison through constant micro-adjustments. Hold that angle. Ease power. Trust the airflow. The 777 groaned and vibrated but stayed airborne through techniques that existed only in the gray zone between flight and crash. As McCarran International came into view, Rachel's voice stayed steady. This landing will feel wrong. Higher speed, steeper approach, prepare for heavy rudder. Follow me exactly. The final approach was heart-stopping. The damaged jet wallowed and fought every input. Rachel called corrections calmly, seconds ahead of disaster. The touchdown was firm, the single bounce violent, but controlled. With shredded brakes and asymmetric drag, she directed reverse thrust, differential braking, and aerodynamic sideslip to bleed speed. The 777 ate up almost the entire runway before shuddering to a halt just before the overrun. Emergency vehicles swarmed. All 200 passengers and crew survived with only minor injuries. As the F-22s made one final low pass overhead, Viper transmitted, "Phoenix, that was the finest flying any of us have ever seen. It was an honor to support you." The story exploded across global headlines. Video of the shaking cabin and miraculous recovery went viral. Rachel received the Distinguished Flying Cross. Her revolutionary techniques were adopted into both military and civilian training programs. The airline renamed the aircraft Phoenix. Captain Morrison requested to fly it for the rest of his career, always telling passengers, "Sometimes heroes sit in seat 2A." 6 months later, Rachel was back at Edwards Air Force Base, pushing experimental aircraft even further. The 2 F-22 pilots were promoted early and used the incident as a leadership case study, proving that the highest duty is sometimes breaking protocol to save lives. The event became legend, a reminder that skills forged at the absolute edge of the impossible can, when it matters most, bring 200 souls safely home from the brink of death.